Hey, good evening. How is everyone? It's good to see you. It is good to be seen by you. I, of course, am the one, and as far as silent science is concerned, only Bill Sylvie, aka the Dungeon Delver. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to the show. This is a little thing we do. We do this thing every now and again. We get together, we talk about classic tabletop role-playing games, we talk about role-playing games in general. We have awesome guests on. And folks, of course, I want to remind you that this live stream is brought to you by our friends at Hellebarde Games. Hellebarde makes the kind of adventures they'd like to play, whether it's for the OSR or for 5th edition. Old School is in play at the table with Hellebarde Games, and you can find them on DriveThruRPG or on their website, hellebardegames.com. And if you like this stream, if you like what we do, please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment below, and tell me what you like. If you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down, leave a comment below, tell me what you didn't like, and I'll set about to remedying it as best as I can. So I would really appreciate that. Something else I would really appreciate, guys, we're at 5421 on the subscription meter. It's been a little flat lately. That's me. That's not you guys. But if you think to mention this to friends who might like kind of an eclectic mix of tabletop RPG stuff, interstitial videos, guests, interviews, that kind of thing, if it comes to mind, please do send them this way. And if you have not already, please click the subscribe button and the bell icon for notifications so you can find out when we do this all the time. Timothy M. Holt asking the important questions right out of the box. If I have clones and they all have jobs, do we have to file separate tax forms with the IRS, or can we just put it all on one? I don't know the answer to that, but I do know you can have conjugal relations with them. So to move on, you guys are talking about Mobius. I'm going to have to check that out. Can you borrow Todd's cloning machine and make a few duplicates? That's entirely up to you. Hello, Jorge, Roy Goodman, Lord Corion, Mercury Wells, Jimmy Invictus. Mercury's got a new gaming group. That's awesome. Robert Phillips, George Laconia, Timothy, of course, Kabuki Kid. How are you? Local Gumby, 433. But anyway, we had some fun. I had some fun this weekend. So I was over on the Speakeasy, Nerd Cognito's Speakeasy, which I do. I will pop up places on the internet where you most expect me. But anyway, I was over there hanging out with Nerd Cognito, and we had a little bit of fun. And if you missed it, this is what we did. They did their opening credits, which are much slicker than mine. But I think I got better music. I don't have dubstep. I've got very cool, mellow, Zeppelin-esque stuff. But anyway, Christopher Sackle, greetings. So I was on there Saturday. They did their opening credits. And then they just cut straight to me sitting here. And so for like 2 minutes, I just did my show. they were sitting off to the side in the green room, and I just did like my show lead-in stuff for 2 minutes, and it was kind of funny. It was sort of, I mean, imagine tuning in to the Tonight Show, and you've got like late night going on. So it was a lot of fun. Anon, hello. Alas, Anon. So yeah, we just had a little bit of fun hanging out. And if you got a stream, if there's anything you ever want the old Delver for, I'm not a guy who's afraid of self-promotion. I'm not a shy and retiring individual. I'll be there. But anyway, if I was going to be compared to a late night TV person, Lord Corion, I would want it to be Conan O'Brien. Because honestly, the the rest of them, well, not going to talk about that. Anyway, last week, guys, if you missed last week, we had Laura Daniel on Thursday, and she was hands down. She was like a top tier guest, and it was so much fun having her on here. And I'm literally like giddy with anticipation of her coming back. I want her to come back. I will tell you guys an interesting Conan story, and you can find the videos of this. Conan O'Brien was, I don't want to say he was friends with, because the late the late great Hunter S. Thompson, I don't know if he was friends with anyone. That sounds awful, and it sounds like I'm slamming him. It sounds like I'm putting him in a Chevy Chase category. I just think it would have been exceptionally difficult to be friends with him. But I think if you were, you pretty much had one hell of a friend there. But what is that picture to the right of the Shield poster? This is a painting by Tracy Lesh. It is a canvas print of a painting by Tracy Lesh. That is one of the first pieces of color art created for Dungeons and Dragons, but TSR elected not to use it. Yes, he was friends with Hunter S. Thompson. He went out shooting with Hunter S. Thompson. In the field where they were going to shoot guns, Conan had, now it was a stage, right? It was scenery. It was like movie scenery, but he had a saloon built, open on all sides. So it was basically just the bar, an old-timey bartender, but mixing drinks, and they were all drinking. And there's this scene where, or not scene, there's this bit where Hunter knocks down a bunch of alcohol and then asks Conan for a gun, and Conan hands it to him, and they cut close to Conan's face, and the expression on his face is, my God, I just handed this man a loaded weapon. Anyway, it's worth your time to see. It's worth your time to see. But yes, you guys, Laura was absolutely an amazing guest. So we're going to have her on again soon. Tim M. Holt's going to be on here in a couple of weeks. This week we've got a fun one, because this week we have got Spiros Drakatos, who is working on a Kickstarter. I'm not going to spoil it for you guys. But you know how we have post-apocalypse games, Aftermath, After the Bomb. You could make the argument that Robotech is a post-apocalypse game, sort of, kind of, not really. Twilight 2000, of course, Gamma World. Any game is technically, I let it slide, Mercury, I go. Any game you can run technically is a pre-apocalypse game. You can run, I mean, you know, the party trying to stop Cthulhu and his minions in the 1930s or in a Cthulhu Now setting is a pre-apocalypse game. Spiros has Dim Day Red, which is an imminent apocalypse game. Like, it's happening. It's mid-apocalypse. What are you doing to ensure your survival once the end finally comes? Maybe, Robert, maybe. I'd want to reward her for it appropriately. I'd want to pay her for it. You know, time is money. And she's an experienced actress who works in the business. I mean, you guys heard her. She's worked with Martin Short. She's worked with Randy Quaid. She's worked with serious talent. Yes, the canonating of Hunter S. Thompson's ashes was taken care of by PJ O'Rourke, who used to be a very, very funny writer for the National Lampoon and then Rolling Stone, and then wrote some very funny books through the 90s and early 2000s. And then he bent up his own butthole and started enjoying the smell of his own farts. But that's another story. So, Tim, then I think you're going to love the Dim Day Red thing. It's a Kickstarter. It's going to be going on, but that's going to be on Thursday. That is going to be on the day of Thor. He's going to be here. And then Tim, you're going to be here the following week, and we're going to talk about all sorts of things. So we've got fun stuff lined up for you guys. This week, miniature, desktop, tabletop miniatures. Guys, the camera ain't great because of where it's set up. So you're just going to have to deal with it. That's a good theory, Jimmy, about Thompson being an aspect of Nyarlathotep. My problem is okay. One of Thompson's earliest books was about hanging out with the Hells Angels. And where he came across them was he had spent weeks with them, writing about them. They loved him. It was that sort of thing. And he saw one of them in almost a single fell swoop, hit his wife, not Hunter S. Thompson's wife. The biker hit his own wife. And was abusive towards a dog and a child. Like all in the space of and he stood up and he said, "You're a punk," which is apparently not a word you use to Hell's Angels. And he got in the guy's face and he said, "Only punks hit dogs, with women and kids." And the people who had invited him there immediately sequestered him and said, "You need to leave now. You got to go. It's over. You're done. You're gone." I don't think an aspect of Nyarlathotep would have done that. So, Gonzo Thulu, I love it. So anyway, let's take a look at what we've got on the miniature setup tonight. The camera angle ain't good, but I will narrate you guys through what you're going to see here. Let's go over to table cam. Okay, so the vast expanse of black is, of course, shadowy area. Off in the middle there, do I have my stick of pointing? Me have stick. So we have some giants and bugbears here. Just out of sight, down this hallway here, we have adventurers. We have a paladin over here, and we have some scatter terrain because I'm not done over here. This is a huge section of the steading of the hill giant chief. This is to the east. The feast hall would be in this area. In 2-inch scale, the steading of the hill giant chief is about 6 feet long by 5.5 feet wide. So it's a little hard to get that all up on camera, but I wanted to show you guys that I do have part of it built. I'm going to put more scatter terrain down in it. That's for the Monday night group, not the Tuesday night group. The Tuesday night group, we will have all that removed and more stuff put down there so you guys can watch us play, because that's tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, we are playing first edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. Wednesday night, Kyle Borg will be back. I'll let him explain that one to you guys. Thursday, of course, we have Spiros, and then Friday we'll be playing Gamma World. We have a big Gamma World session coming. Damien247, good to see you. So that's what we've got coming this week. You've seen the miniature. You've heard the introduction. So I want to see if I can do this now. I'm going to add this to stage because we got some tabletop RPG news, and both of the things are kind of the same things, but we're going to talk about these. Because there's some old school going on with this, even though they're talking about 2024. Yang and Zhao, good to see you. There's a guy who'll be here on Friday. So let's take a look at this. Let's slide on over there. Here is your tabletop RPG news for Monday, February 12th, 2024. So what we have here is Dungeons & Dragons 2024 core rulebooks get official release dates. Now, I didn't care about this at first, but then I got to the second line. D&D's 2024's 3 core rulebooks strangely stagger their releases months apart. Hold on, my stars and garters, guys. They staggered the rule. Wow. Whoa. They staggered the... Can they do that? Can they stagger the release dates like that? Will that even work? I'm being a little sarcastic. For those of you who maybe came in the second inning, you know, you've had your first... sang the national anthem, batters up, maybe you got a pop fly run in, the visitors come in, and then it's a second, and you're like, I just go to the toy store and I buy all 3 books, or my folks buy all 3 books. I'm at the hobby shop and I buy all 3 books. Folks, in the year of our Lord 1977, it was not so. Because back then, first edition AD&D, guess what? Staggered releases. First your monster manual, then your player's handbook, and a full year later in February of 1978 was released the Dungeon Master's Guide. Now I'm glad you liked it, Jimmy. It's going to get better. Yes, Lord Corion, 2E, 3E, 3.5, 4, and 5, they all dropped at once. So, yeah, there we are. And let's dive into the article. This is from Chase Redbeard Carter. Dungeons & Dragons, 3 new revised core rulebooks now have official release dates. Updated editions of the Player's Handbook, Dungeon Master's Guide, and Monster Manual will drop periodically through the rest of 2024, with a final tome not arriving until early next year. Everything that's old is new again. Yang, I'm going to address that. Kabuki has the right of it. It was... They were close enough spaced out that it wasn't over 3 years, but yes, DMG was 79. Anon, I think you're right. They want synergy with it. But anyway, so players on September 17th, DMG on November 12th, Monster Manual will be February 18th, 2025. So you're not getting that until almost a year from now. Was it staggered? Okay. That is news to me. And we're not watching that video. No more editions? No, there will be. I'm sorry. I don't care if they call 7th edition the 6th edition toolkit or whatever. It's going to be a 6th edition, guys. So anyway, yeah, they go and they, you know, blow Sunshine up the hind end of Wizards of the Coast. So that I thought that was super interesting, though, that it's staggered, that it's not just, whoa, here are your books. Now, to answer Yang's question, and we've actually talked a lot about this issue. It is The Dragon 22, if you guys want to seek out the PDF and grab it, or grab a physical copy from a trusted reseller. The Dragon 22 was released between the release of the Player's Handbook and the Dungeon Master's Guide, and it actually contained the combat tables and how to level your character up, like how XP was given out. I think it may have also contained the new psionics, but it was a preview. So essentially, you could have that issue of the Dragon, a player's handbook, and a monster manual, and play AD&D before the Dungeon Master's Guide came out. So we hop over to wargamer.com, and they mention one D&D release date and news: Wizards of the Coast next evolution of Dungeons and Dragons, one D&D 6th edition. Hasbro, that's what we're going to fucking call it, okay? It's 6th edition. Oops, I said a dirty word. Somebody's going to have to monetize this video. I just got nuked. Somebody's going to have to monetize me. But yeah, it's 6th edition. But that's not what we care about. Yeah, until or D&D 6e, as we were calling it until recently. Alex, buddy, blink twice if you're not safe. Yeah, the starter set, Mike, the starter set was fine. I've said it before. Starter set plus Players, Dungeon Masters, Monsters, ignore everything, Tasha's Cauldron of everything, all the crap they pushed online, Dragon Plus, whatever. Ignore all that, and you've got a perfectly cromulent role-playing game. You've got a perfectly cromulent RPG. We're going to get to that, Michael Dale. Overhill and Overdale. Call them your sandals, Michael Dale. I almost said another dirty word. So yeah, so the releases are coming out, yada, yada, yada. And there's a fax. What is one D&D? We don't care. One D&D books, blah, 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 blah. D&D digital, one D&D release date. Did I miss this? Do we need to go back? I feel like I need to go back. I feel like I missed an article. This is not the article I care about, because that's just telling us, let's see, Dungeons and Dragons. This is the one I wanted. D&D release schedule 2024. So let's check this out. 2024 is a big year for Dungeons and Dragons. Here's what's coming in the D&D 2024 release schedule. And I swear I will... Molly? There's an ampersand there. I know you probably sent this in through your phone. There's an ampersand there. But anyway... Dungeons and Dragons release schedule. Okay. But the one that the two that I'm really interested in is Descent into the Lost Caverns of Sojkonth. They're going to touch something Gary made. They're going to touch something that Gary made. Descent into the Lost Caverns of Sojkonth revises the classic first edition adventure, Lost Caverns of Sojkonth. It's a single session dungeon crawl that'll evoke the feeling of an adventure module from 50 years ago, complete with a tournament scoring system to see how well you fared. We don't know if the story beats will be the same, but we expect Wizards to include more than a few nods to the original. Oh, how Caucasian of them. Given how many different combat scenarios it featured, we're expecting to see plenty of giants, Umber Hulks, and maybe a D&D vampire or two. Well, there's 2 giants. And there's 1 vampire and 1 Umber Hulk. There's 2 giants one vampire, and one Umber Hulk. There's a bee here. There's Chasme demons. There's a Bodak. There's a Dracolisk. There's all sorts of stuff. Bob Jester, hello. Wizards of the Coast said this will be one of multiple events that celebrate play, with sessions being run in stores and conventions as part of the anniversary celebration. I ought to go run the original. I ought to see if my friends down at Gods and Monsters would like me to come in and run the original. I don't know. That would be kind of in a hurry. And March 2024 is my 25th anniversary month. So our marriage is exactly half as old as Dungeons and Dragons. Sean Hall, greetings. Something about Vecna. Don't really care. Okay, so this is the other thing. Making of, releasing 6/18. So that's coming in June. The making of original Dungeons & Dragons 1970 to 1976 is a piece of history rather than a source book. Wizards is calling it a retrospective historical book, which, thanks to the help of gaming historian John Peterson, retells D&D's origin stories. It's over 500 pages long and promises all sorts of original art, plus never-before-seen correspondence between the original creators of D&D. Oh, and it has a page-by-page recreation of Dungeons & Dragons in its original form. They will no doubt price that thing to stop it from being an in-print, easily usable OD&D reprint. I guarantee it. As much as I like Art and Arcana here, you do pay for the privilege of owning an OD&D module. So then they're talking more about the staggered release there. And that's about it. And we thank my little bitching about the ampersand aside, of course, Molly Russell over at Wargamer. I'm very thankful for the people who put this stuff together so I can share it with you guys. $125. Yep, I think that's probably what it'll run local. So there is your tabletop RPG news for the week. As we kind of kick this off and move forward. I continue to have fun interactions with people on social media about classic D&D. There is a fellow who was either was or is, I don't want to out anybody, the art director at Wizards of the Coast for Dungeons and Dragons. I believe, I could be wrong. I'll have to go check his Twitter bio, but he followed me, which was really cool. I thought that was really, really, really neat of him. Yeah, I have no doubt, Roy, it'll be something along those lines. I mean, Chris Perkins already said in the panel they did at some freaking PAX Unplugged, you can read along, and just like I did when I was reading it, you can ask yourself, how is this even a game? That's for you, buddy. Anyway, but is having good interactions. And so the guy said, which version of D&D has the best action economy? I've heard the phrase action economy before. Now, I don't automatically go into hyper grognard mode when I hear something I don't understand. I'm not completely caveman lawyer. You're Flashing lights and high technology confuse and frighten me. So I asked him, I said, hey, I've seen this mentioned before. What is action economy? This is, stuff you can do in a round. And I said, well, it's interesting you bring that up. Because as a guy who plays first edition AD&D almost exclusively, sometimes I sneak in some original or basic even. I said to him, I find this kind of interesting. And I've played all versions of D&D, but when it comes to third, which, guys, third includes Pathfinder. You're a Pathfinder fan? I'm sorry. It's third edition D&D with a new coat of paint on it. He talks, he and I kind of interacted with it. And I thought about, what is the action economy of first edition AD&D? And it's really, 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 really complex. AD&D has a really complex, because again, I've played all versions of D&D, all forms of Dungeons and Dragons I have played. I played original, all the basics, second edition AD&D. Yes, I played second edition, first edition, third, 3.5. Yes, even fourth. And I play tested fifth. But I looked at it, I looked at other, and the deeper I looked, when I would hear people talking about, but specific, or particularly, not specifically, but particularly Pathfinder seemed to like it must be like the horrible creeping feeling that people got when they first started intercepting communications from berserkers in Fred Saberhagen's novels of the same name. It's like they're just speaking in really terrifying sounding math to each other. So I was just, and it read so much like, less like Dungeons and Dragons, any Dungeons and Dragons I understood, and Hero System. And don't get me wrong, Hero System's a fine game. I like Hero System. I've played Hero System longer in my life than I haven't. And so I mentioned that, and we kind of backed and forth, and I said, yeah, so I'm a 1E guy, and this is mine. He said, yeah, man, I remember in 1E it was just like, I want to go do this thing, and you do it. But I technically agree with him. And I even said, hey, don't get me started on an AD&D action economy thread. I'll put it and I'll tag you in it. And he's like, hey, tag away. I look forward to it. So I thought that was pretty cool. But hey, RPG Grandma, we're just getting, it's like old home week here on the show. I love it. If we could get like Todd in, that would be great. Maybe Vaughn stop by again. But anyway, so I started thinking about it. AD&D's action economy is a fairly complex thing. Right? I mean, an attack in AD&D isn't one swing of the sword, It could be many thrusts, a feint, a parry. Maybe you don't even swing the sword for part of it. You're just throwing elbows or getting somebody in the clincher, trying to get your sword into them. Lots of stuff goes on in an AD&D round, guys. Lots of stuff. Just for fighters, you can charge. You can elect to parry. You can discharge a missile weapon. How fast is your weapon? Maybe you drink a potion. Maybe you use a ring. Maybe you've got boots of striding and springing, which actually allows you 2 movements, things that don't happen normally in an AD&D game. And that's just covering fighters. No, Clericon was back in November, Jimmy. But it just, I found, and I'm gonna post that thread up on Twitter, because the idea fascinates me. The idea of the economy of actions in first edition AD&D. But, oh, that's interesting, Damien. The point is, we had a good interaction. You know, he didn't start throwing a lot of shade at me because I brought up first edition. I didn't throw, but I literally didn't know what action economy was. And now, having known, I'd kind of like to go in and take a look at AD&D's action economy. So it was just another fun interaction on the internet, which, as I say, hey, Doc Flamingo, I'm gonna stop you right there, Anon. For just, in fact, I'm gonna asterisk that so I don't lose it, because I wanna come back to what you just said. You get back in what you put out, and how you cultivate your presence on any social media will determine the degree of alarmism, blackpilling, argumentative, screeching matches. And I just go out there and I just try to be positive. I just go out there and I try to be positive. And I get positive stuff back. You know? If I was a bitter grognard, we would have had Laura on the show. You know? Dwarven Forge actually made sci-fi scenery in resin for a long time. I think they're going back to it now. Which edition has the best action economy? I don't know. Happiness is just a distraction. But I don't know. I think you guys prefer Theater of the Mind for Gamma World. Anyway, I want to come back to this, and I'm not calling out. I just want to mention this. Anon says, the best AD&D game is where everyone knows the rules by second nature and it flows like water. Now that is awesome. Yes, but no. I like introducing people to it. I like teaching people AD&D. I like them to learn. I love seeing the look on people's faces when they're playing AD&D for the first time. That's the bigger thrill to me. Eat any good books lately? So I agree with you. Like, having just a well-oiled combat machine when it's just like, you know, you're just going through, is awesome. And it is amazing. But I love teaching someone to play AD&D for the first time and seeing the lights come on, particularly if they come from another edition and they've gotten bad-mouthing about AD&D. I like to see those things start to click for them for the first time. Now, sometimes people get it and sometimes people don't. And sometimes when they don't, that can get frustrating. And then you kind of wish everybody was on the same sheet of music, exactly like you're saying, Anon. So Roy, I guess that's a way to phrase it. I suppose that is a way to phrase it. So anyway, there was something, and tonight's title alignment check, it was not just chosen just because. I was thinking about this. Now, this is not an argument that came up. And I don't want to have an alignment argument. I will accept your feedback on this. I am absolutely, hey, Orbital Air. I am absolutely not like going soft or anything like that. But I think a good DM can have effective alignment changes by certain creatures within an AD&D game. Now, you know, the old question of what to do with the baby orcs, cue the scene from Goblin Slayer. You know, someone had asked Gary about, okay, well, what if they've surrendered and so on and et cetera. And people say, well, Gary said to kill the prisoners because nets make lice, blah, 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 blah. And of course, you know, people use that as a sign that Gary was a terrible person, whatever. I'm not going down that road. I did. And then they take the next logical step, which is because Gary said he would run the game that way, that the game should be run that way. Gary said, I do this. This is what I think. Gary very much left the rules to us. It's up to us as individual players to do what we want in our games. Now, I'm not talking about creating moral quandaries for you. I don't have the time or the CPU cycles to pull a bunch of, you know, everything is morally gray. There is no right or wrong. You can't make a decision, you know. And I'm certainly not general. Look, if the player believes that a 2,000-year-old vampire is going to go forth, change its alignment, and do good, and they let it go when they're about to stake it, yeah, they're going to hear about a vampire terrorizing a city. And yeah, that's on you, buddy. But it came up. Now, you guys saw out on the table, we're running G1 on Monday night. There is a room in G1 where when the players go in, there are 3 young giantesses, and they are being beaten by a 4th, a Harridan. If the party attack her, they won't help her. They'll sit by and they'll watch her die. And for sparing their lives and letting them have their treasure back that the Harridan was keeping away from them, they will, the giantesses will tell the party everything they know about. Now, it's part and parcel of DMing, particularly classic models, that you flesh them out, that you breathe life into them. All right. Old school modules get a reputation for being boring because dungeon masters don't give them life. I'm just putting that up. Gary was very sanguine about the later edition. He says it wasn't mine. So, but you know, so when the party kicked open the door in our Monday night G1 game, they slew the Harridan. The 3 giantesses were terrified because here's 12 home invaders. Hey, Doc Flamingo, thank you for joining up. By the way, the first module for Thief level patrons and YouTube members did go out. The missus got sick Saturday night. It will go out in the next couple of days, I promise. I'm sorry for the delay. But you guys do have the December, the January is coming, and then the February will be in a week after that. Did not do Dragonlance in the original setting except to have sat down and played a couple of times, Roy. So I essentially role-played them as begging for their lives, giving up any information, and they said that, you know, our grandsire sent us here to be laymen for the Hill Giant warriors as tribute when the call went out. So basically, Granddad said, "Go down there and get with the the giants, and that will be my contribution to the war effort." So the party kind of hemmed and hawed over this, and they were very stern with them. They said, "Remain in this room. If you open the door even to look out, we will kill you all. When we tell you you can leave, you will depart this land. You will go back into the mountains far away." And they let them take their jewelry back. And the giantesses gave the potions to the party. So I thought about that. Is it possible 3 hill giantesses could change their alignments? That they could walk away from the path of evil, having just had their lives spared? And I say, sure, why not? Or maybe they don't, but they honor, at least as long as they can, what the party let them off the hook. So 20 years later, the giantesses' children raided the player's village and killed everyone. Hey, it could happen. But I don't, I don't, like, I don't create feel bad moral quandaries. If the party had gone in and had said, you know, hold still, we'll make this as painless as possible, the giantesses might have fought. They might have weeping resigned themselves to their fate. Hey, Jimmy Invictus, thank you so much. Thank you for the membership. I appreciate that. That is awesome. So I feel like I feel like you can do that. Now, with that said, hey, Dungeon Minister, your ears must have been burning. We were just talking about you a few minutes ago. So I feel like as a dungeon master, you can have on the spot conversions and alignment changes. It doesn't. I just say, on the other hand, don't do it. Like, look, don't. I'm not going to have the party then stumble upon an entire society of chaotic good, or at worst, chaotic neutral hill giants. Members, the milestones are just flying in. And I thank you for your 6 months of service, Bob Jester. So that's not going to happen. I am not one of those happy-go-lucky drow are now light violet and they can all be good. No. But right off the bat, Gary introduced the idea that situations like that can be complex. Look, in G1, if you free the orc slaves, they are very grateful. They're sniveling, they're Gollum-like in terms of, crawling at your feet, because they have literally been treated like disposable tissues by the giants. And again, Gary said in D3, here are drow that are not evil, not wholly evil. So, I mean, ultimately, it's up to you as dungeon masters and players who play with certain dungeon masters to make to make decisions about how that works and how it works best for your game. I wouldn't play in a game that was advertised as first edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons that didn't cleave to alignments. But likewise, I wouldn't play in a similar game where, like, I'm playing G1, we open the door, we slay the Harridan, and we let the other three go, we turn around, they immediately jump us and start attacking us. So Michael Dale asks, do I sit here during my Monday night in person, or do I move out to the table with an old school screen? My Monday night is unfortunately not in person. I haven't played an in-person D&D game in, I would say, since GaryCon. Wait, did I? Yeah. GaryCon was my last in-person D&D. No, that's not right. That is not correct, because I played D&D with my daughter, but we played out on the dining room table. Jimmy, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jimmy. I really appreciate that. That supplants North of the Rockies comment that underneath my beard is just a D20. So thank you so much for the super. Yeah, I mean, you can create exceptions. Yeah, I don't think I'm ever going to get to 10,000 subs, Michael. So, Yeah, like, I'm not going to have the party strike to subdue Loth, and she turns over a new leaf and becomes lawful good. That's simply not going to happen. So that's That's just a thing, and that dovetails into something else. And I just want to be very clear on this. I don't want to be part of this argument. I'm not going to hear arguments about it. The bench is not open to arguments. This is judicial declaration coming down from the dungeon delver. I do not do one-to-one time. I don't do one-to-one time. A trip from the city of Greyhawk to Gorna takes months on foot, weeks upon weeks on horseback. My players would never forgive me if 3 hours of playing equaled 3 hours in real life. That's 8 sessions. That's 2 months to make one day. Thank you, Doc Flamingo. That is exactly correct. One-to-one time is frankly stupid, and it adds nothing to a game. What did I just say about alignment? How do you start in a city away from G1? As a reasonable, logical person, if your party is in the city of Greyhawk, they hear that there's giants attacking Jeff, and they can't teleport, hire a giant eagle or a rook, or otherwise. But I want to run against the giants. Well, the party is here. Okay, then I guess it will take... well, I guess it'll take months and months and months just to move a few hexes. And I think the thing that really pissed me off was when, it's like it's one-to-one time always. Hey, Bill, oh my gosh, Colleen needs you back at the house. Yeah, I gotta go. This bad medical thing's going on. Okay, all right. Next week. Yeah, Bill, your paladin just stood there for a week in the dungeon by himself while the party moved on, so your character's dead. I would literally flip that table. These are people who would convince you that they're like that they're like the Giga Chad meme and playing D&D at the same time. I don't freaking believe it, okay? And neither should you. Exactly, RPG Grandma. It is for downtime. I mean, honestly, it's such a ridiculous. It is such a ridiculous point of view. It has to be a troll. It has to be a wind-up. I don't believe anybody can be that thick. It has to be a wind-up. But that's my point. Just in case it's not, that's my point. Feel free to clip that and share it around. If the dungeon is a month away on horseback, are you rolling random encounters for that much travel? Absolutely. Absolutely. I am unquestionably rolling those random encounters. And I'm rolling them beforehand because I'm a prep addict, apparently. Because let me tell you, when you've got 3 hours a week to play, nothing pleases your players like down on 5th floor of the dungeon, roll a random encounter. There's the random encounter you roll, NPC party. Let me generate 7 to 14 adventurers. Their equipment their alignments, their classes, their races, their personality types, and any treasure that they might be carrying. This should really only take me an hour and a half tops. So yes, I do for overland travel. When I know how long a party's got to go, I have all that stuff. Well, what if they go a different direction? Then I wing it. But if they tell me they're going from Jeff to Gorna, and I ask them, are you going to take the shortest route? It's going to take you through this forest, over this river, through these mountains, across this swamp. And they say, unquestionably. Then in between sessions, I can create all the potential encounters. RPG Grandma. Every time I see 1-to-1, I think about map skill. Plover the river and frots the woods. So I guess what that means is I'm not Bro SR. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Because, you know, I'm going to play this card. I've played D&D with Gary. I played Legendary Adventures with Gary. And the trip from the city to the dungeon was always, you walk through the wilderness. It's not RPG Grandma. Again, I think it's a wind-up. I just think it's a wind-up. I think I feel like it's a wind-up from a lot of people who actually don't like old D&D. They want something like Torchbearer or what's it, Dark, whatever it is, or something like that. And they're just taking an out of context Gygax thing and just poking it with a sharp stick. Hey, Death Angels, good to see you. Yeah, exactly. You set sail for the new world. See you guys in 6 months. Oh, but that's why you have multiple characters and you run something else. No. And as far as the 1-to-1 time people goes, how the frig do you do tournament dungeons then? I see half of you in 6 months. How do you do a tournament dungeon? Well, we have 3 hours to play. Well, you're 10 miles from the dungeon. Can we buy horses? Nope, no horses for sale. So yeah, feel free to clip that. Thank you again, Jimmy, for the 20 spot. I do appreciate it. But of course, what do you guys think about 1-to-1 time? It reminds me a lot of the super reductive arguments, like way back on Dragon's Foot, before social media really got ramped up. Yeah, right, Anon. But shelfies was a thing, you know? Like I love my D&D books. AD&D, I got some basic going over there. I got OD&D down here. I got other games kind of thrown in the mix. So people are like, hey, what do you got? What do you got? People do a nice little fan arrangement of modules and take a picture, that sort of thing. I mean, there were a couple of hipsters who would get super reductive, like, all I need is the player's handbook and the dungeon master's guide. All I need is, this, and it got down to, somebody was like, I need Men in Magic and a copy of Chainmail. And like my hand-typed house notes. You casual. And I'm just like, it was just as ridiculous. No, I would wager you actually probably do play with more stuff than that. And honestly, if you're shutting out modules, whether it's Len's L series, Dave Cook, Alan Hammock, and Tom Moldvay's A series, C1 by Dave Cook, and C2 by, again, Alan Hammock, the S series. That is literally like saying, yeah, I have How the West Was Won on DVD and a Led Zeppelin t-shirt, but I don't want to spoil it by listening to the albums. I'll just get the chord books and teach myself to play. Man, you gotta have physical graffiti, right? You gotta have 1, 2, 3, and 4, or symbols, depending on how you call it. Even in Through the Outdoor. There you go. Doc Flamingo wins all. Danny H., good to see you. It has been a minute. Welcome back. It is Old Home Week. There you go, Kabuki. Coda, yeah. Don't in some rush to be a weird hipster about classic D&D, like, oh, Gary never even used the player's handbook at the table. He never used a monster man. It's, guys, enjoy it all. It is a delicious banquet. It is a delicious banquet. And maybe you can make up your own stuff. Maybe you can make up your own stuff that's just as good or better than Gary's. That's awesome. That's what it's there for. But what I'm saying is don't turn your nose up at it because you think it's lazy. I think it was Stuart Marshall, one of the creators of Ozric, was once telling me, he's like, yep, never played a module. Knew a bloke who had one, but I never played him. And something else I'll tell you about modules, particularly for people who really want to learn how old D&D was played, it's not just, hey, thank you, Lord Corion. I appreciate that, brother. Keg looks a little dry. Hilariously themed bartender. Another round. But there's a lot of stuff in classic AD&D modules that are really, really helpful to understanding how the game works. Coda as in Michael Kirkbride's. No, Coda as in the final Led Zeppelin album, which was a compilation of B-sides, lives, and live tracks, and some studio outtakes. Drinks are on Lord Corion, $10. We're all going to have to share 2 beers. The cost of drinking these days. Boo! North of the Rockies, boo! A question regarding alignment in play. Had a player neutral evil blatantly kill an enemy combat and that surrendered. Does that justify a shift to chaotic evil? Danny, was the player doing it just to be a dick, or were they doing it to further the cause of evil? That's what neutral axis alignments are. Good is the greatest good because you will cleave to the laws or break the laws as long as the common weal is being advanced. Lawful neutral. Nothing matters except obedience to the law. He beat me up and took my car. That's not against the law. I mean, it would be against the law, but you get what I'm saying. But I don't think it qualifies as a chaotic evil shift. A chaotic evil shift would be you know what a brilliant example of chaotic evil is? Have you ever seen The Warriors? The Walter Hill gang violence movie from the 70s, The Warriors. Well, they asked the dude who shot Cyrus why he did it. The actor's response is great. He's like, I like doing effed up things. That's chaotic evil. He literally kicked off a violent intercity gang war. Now, granted, he actually probably stopped an incredible amount of misery just accidentally. Because if you remember Cyrus's speech, everyone's like, oh, Cyrus is such a badass. Think how cool that would have been. Yeah, no, Cyrus was basically out there charismatically trying to establish a kleptocracy that would have terrified and terrorized millions of New Yorkers. Yes, it is, George. That is right. Xenophon's Anabasis is what that's a retelling of. Darth Vader's alignment, lawful evil. Yeah, I put him as lawful evil too. Yeah, I don't think it's a shift to chaotic evil if they had a reason to do it. If the reason was, like the assassin in the Warriors, I just like doing effed up S, then by all means, I would make a mental note that they've started shifting. Remember, your shifts aren't like, there's not a notch. It's gradual. You know, it can start with something as simple as the neutral evil starts listening to the mafioso and saying, okay, yeah, no, rules make sense. No, I get it. Rules make sense. We're still going to be bad, right? Yeah, but rules make sense. They start shifting towards lawful evil or randomness and woe. I'm all about it. It furthers the cause. But randomness and woe more than ever following any rules. Even if the rules further the cause of evil, randomness and woe more does. Then you start to shift to chaotic. So exactly, Dungeon Minister. Some men just want to watch the world burn. Excellent. Oh, that's some people want to watch the world burns. Well, the Emperor gives Vader a lot of latitude as far as human resources go, so we're just going to leave that. How many truly good characters are there really in D&D? Well, the alignment tells us. Anyway, I may have missed some comments from you guys here. I'm going to scroll back. Good point. Doc Flamingo says that An alignment shift is more of a trend of behavior. Yeah, it's not a single one. You didn't realize that Warriors was Xenophon's Anabasis? Heck yeah. Very welcome, Danny. And you're always welcome here. Hang around some more. Let me see. What time is it? Because I gotta. Oh my gosh! I have to get to my first edition AD&D game, guys. I didn't realize that I had gone this late. Everyone, please. The Dirty Harry is lawful good. He has never stepped outside the bounds of his code, which protects the innocent. Anyway, that just about does it, guys. Thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you very, very much for the supers, Jimmy Invictus and Lord Corion. That is greatly appreciated. Thank you for the subscriptions, Doc Flamingo and Jimmy. I do appreciate that. Congratulations on 6 months of membership to Bob Jester. Thank you all very, very much for being here. I'll be back tomorrow night. We'll be playing some first edition advanced Dungeons and Dragons, and I will get the credits updated tomorrow. But until then, peace. Be good to each other. Love you all. Mean it.
Have you seen my owl bear? Here's to all the weirdos everywhere in the woods and in the air. Have you seen my owl bear? Should I shave off all my hair? Bobs are all around. Some live in tunnels underground. Some are fat, some are rich, some are sleeping in a ditch. Can you ride a crooked horse without a saddle way off course? Naked as a toad all the way to Smoky Joe's. Have you seen the little creep driving fast in his little green Jeep? He smells like fish and brandy, but his rotten teeth look dandy. Take me to the show, I don't care if fast or slow. From action flicks to dancing dicks, just take me to the show.